Good morning, good afternoon, and good day wherever you may be joining us from. Welcome to another edition of the Digital Download, the longest running weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live. Now globally syndicated on TuneIn Radio through IBGR, the world's #1 business talk, news, and strategy radio network. Today, we're learning how great customer experience makes price irrelevant. We have a special guest, John DeJulius, to help us with the discussion. John has worked with brands like the Ritz-Carlton, Lexus, and Starbucks, guiding them to make exceptional experiences their defining advantage. But before we bring John onto the show, let's go around to the set and introduce everyone. While we're doing that, why don't you in the audience reach out to a friend, ping them, and have them join us? We strive to make the digital download an interactive experience, and audience participation is highly encouraged. Okay, with that, Adam, would you kick us off, please?
Good afternoon, or good morning, depending on where you're dialing in from. I'm Adam Gray. I'm co-founder of DLA Ignite, dialing in from home, which is a very cold Suffolk at the moment.
All right, thank you for that and welcome. Bertrand.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bertrand Godillot. I am the founder and managing partner of Odysseus & Co. We're working with customers to generate more conversations with their ICPs, and I'm a very proud DLA Ignite partner.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Tim.
Welcome, everybody. Yes, I'm Tim Hughes. I'm the CEO of DLA Ignite, and I'm famous for writing the book Social Selling, Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers.
Thank you very much. And myself, I am Rob Durant, founder of Flywheel Results. We help startups scale. And I, too, am a proud DLA Ignite partner. As I said, this week on the Digital Download, we'll speak with John DeJulius, founder of the DeJulius Group and Chief Revolution Officer. John will share how organizations can elevate their customer and employee experiences to gain an unbeatable advantage. Let's bring him on. John, good morning and welcome.
Hi, John.
You look cold.
I am cold. It snowed in Cleveland, Ohio last night. First time this year. Won't be the last.
No, it won't. John, let's start by having you tell us a little bit more about you, your background, and what led you to where you are today.
Probably like most accidents. Started off 32 years ago. Me and my wife opened a small hair salon in Cleveland, and it took off, and we started growing and opening up multiple locations, and we had a really good reputation for the customer experience. So this is in the mid 90s, and so people started asking me, chambers of commerce and people in Ohio, to come and speak about what we were doing, why we were growing so fast, and our reputation for experience. And I only did it thinking it would, draw more customers to the salons. Never thinking it would, take me out of the salons. But every time I spoke, a few business leaders would ask me if I can come in and do this to their teams, and I didn't know that was a thing. And started doing that more and more. And then in 2003, my first book came out, and that pretty much took me out of the salon industry, and speaking and consulting ever since. So still own the salons, but not day to day. Have nothing to do with those. Just the consulting on customer and employee experience is what I do full time.
All right. John, I want to start with a foundational question. What do you mean when you say price is irrelevant?
Yeah, I love that. That's what we do. That's what we've done in our companies. That's what we help people do. Making price irrelevant doesn't mean you can, double your prices or even raise them 30% and not lose existing or potential customers. What we mean by making price irrelevant is based on the experience your brand consistently delivers. Your customers, clients, patients, tenants, whatever you may call them, they should have no idea what your competition charges. So there's a lot to unpack there. Obviously, what your brand consistently delivers, that means it can't be dependent on one person. We call that employee roulette, right? Whoever we deal with, whatever department, location, employee, that they consistently deliver. And I've been the fool that's driven 3 extra miles to save 50 cents on something, not realizing I just lost in that exchange, right? But I also have a few people personally and professionally I do business with that have created such a rapport, such a relationship, peace of mind, brilliant comeback when they've dropped the ball, that I'm so loyal. I have no idea how they stack up to their competition, because I'm never comparing them.
I love how you say brilliant comeback. I am all for forgiving somebody for making a mistake. Mistakes happen. We're human. It's how you respond when you make that mistake that is the critical difference for me.
There's a thing called the service recovery paradox. And it says, like, if I do business with you and I have these expectations and you deliver them, I may or may not become loyal, or the lifetime value is if Tim comes along and offers me this, what you do, but maybe a better deal, I'll switch. But there's scientific proof that if you drop the ball and make it right, I'm going to be 10 times more loyal. So I always say the best customer service loyalty strategy is screw up first. Joking, but we've all, been on both sides of that, where it absolutely does work.
So you began with a string of hair salons, clearly something very close to my heart. And so what did you do there? Because clearly this is not about giving somebody a piece of candy when they come in. To grow quickly like that requires you to be markedly different from everybody else. So what did you look at in the industry and think, okay, we're not going to do, when everyone else zigs, we're going to zag. We're going to do something different. What was that?
Yeah, it was kind of a necessity. So when we opened, and it's probably typical to any city we're living in, big city. When we opened in 1993, we had the 3 no's: no money, no customers, no employees. And even if you had a bad arm, you could throw a ball in any direction and hit 10 competitors, right? I mean, we were just another of 20 salons on the strip, and we couldn't outspend. We couldn't out advertise. We couldn't out, build a prettier salon than our competition. But what was lacking, probably in every business back then, was good customer experience. Salons, and again, at least in my area, no one gave a great experience. But salons was like, because my wife had worked in salons, and it was kind of like if you came in and said, listen, I don't like what you did, it's not blonde enough, it's not red enough, it's not, they throw you out. They just weren't good. So we said, all right, we want to be the best experience, and we call them guests, in our guest day. And something that was really key back then is we didn't say we wanted to be the best experience in a salon experience day, because I think where a lot of businesses get confused is who we compete with. So let's pretend, and this is pretending, we are the best salon in Cleveland, okay? It really wouldn't matter. Adam, if your wife came in today, she then doesn't leave and go across the street, down the street to our nearest competitor, right? She's good for hair services for a few weeks, a few months, whatever her cadence is. But she goes to the dentist's office after. She runs to, the mall. She has meets her friends for lunch. And we wanted to blow those experiences away. So that's really what we focused on. Little things like silent cues and visual triggers. So, if you come into our salons, you might see 10 people getting a haircut. You might see 8 in a black John Roberts haircutting cape. You'll see 1 or 2 in a white John Roberts haircutting cape. Well, our customers, we have black and white capes. To any of our team members, anyone in white has never been there before. So that's a different, if I'm walking by, if anyone's walking by, hey, welcome to John Roberts. I understand this is your first experience. I'm Sally. I do massages. Can I get you another cup of coffee? If you're in a black cape, you're an old friend. Hey, great to see you again. So little silent cues and visual triggers like that. And it just took off. And now 32 years later, while we do have deeper pockets, we still don't spend money on advertising or marketing or anything like that. We focus on the experience.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
So you alluded to this. I'm going to ask directly then, what does it take to make your brand indispensable to customers? You said when you drop the ball, I'm going to remain more loyal to you. It can't be just about dropping the ball.
No. It's personalization. It's knowing you. It's my first book. It's called Secret Service. But the original name, I think we're all old enough to remember, that I tried to come out with it, but I couldn't get permission, was Mastering the Norm Factor. Norm from Cheers. If you remember, when Norm walked into Cheers, everyone yelled, Norm, right? And that was our whole strategy. So, Rob, if you came in twice a week, that was obviously a little easier, right? We know you, but if you came in twice a year, some people come in twice a year, we would do those things to, know Rob. So one of the things that we teach and all our clients have adopted is learn people's Ford, F-O-R-D. If you can learn 2 or more things of people's Ford in a 3-minute conversation or a 45-minute meeting, you not only built a relationship, you now own the relationship, because each and every one of us listening, our Ford is our hot buttons. It's what gets us talking and excited. Family. Are they married? Do they have kids? How old are their kids? What activities are their kids into? Occupation. What do they do? Who do they do it for? How long they've been doing it? What's their job title? R is a lot of people's hottest buttons besides their kids is recreation, right? What we choose to do with our nights, evenings, weekends, days off. Someone might be a marathoner. Someone might be, hot yoga. Someone might be a little league soccer coach, right? And then finally, D is dreams. What's on their bucket list, what's their encore career that they're working towards, what's their dream vacation. So some scenarios, sales and that allows for it. It was our chit chat before we got on. We were in the waiting room. Now I don't want, if you call in to book an appointment, I don't want my call center to forward you. That would be like a stalker checklist, right? But and so often you don't have to, because clients overshare. They may be saying, hey, I need to move my 3:00 on Wednesday because my daughter's soccer team made it to the championship, right? Capture that. And then when they come in a week from Wednesday, someone at a salon could say, hey, Tim, how'd your daughter's team do? And he's like, they won. How'd you know? Oh, Tim, you're our favorite guest. So we have a Ford field that we collect that you work at Progressive Insurance, or like I said, anything that we can find and share. All our banks that we work with are all different models have added a Ford field to their CRM system.
Is there a fine line between innate curiosity and personability and being manipulative?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that is part of studying. First off, if a client shares, now, let's say someone has a call with you from my team next week, Rob. There's going to be notes in there that you live, just outside of Boston, right? That's fine to say, hey, how's the weather in Boston this time of year? And things like that. Also, anyone probably shares, on LinkedIn, or you just got promoted, or we can go in there, if we haven't had a call before, and see what you're an alumni of, or who we have mutual connections with. So it's common sense, but we haven't, to my knowledge, I haven't had anyone ever come back and say, whoa, you guys cross the line. But there is definitely teaching moments and training moments that, if it is sensitive, don't bring it up unless they do, or don't bring it up at all.
What are some of the common barriers to creating a superior customer experience?
Well, the first one is, and I think this is what most CEOs and leaders get wrong with customer service. I think most of them think that it's common sense and it's innate. And, really the bottom line is how good any organization is at customer service comes down to one thing and one thing only: the service aptitude from the CEO to the janitor to the newest customer service rep that you just hired you're about to cut loose on the phones, right? Service aptitude is a person's ability to recognize opportunities to meet or exceed customers' expectations. And the last four words here are key: regardless of the circumstances. Okay. So, we could all shine on our slowest time, slowest day. But what about our peak time? When two people's called in sick, we're running late. That's when we have to, provide service aptitude. But here, that's not the paradigm shift. That's probably common sense. It's where service aptitude comes from. All of our existing generation employees and all of our future generation employees, our service aptitude comes from three places. Okay. First one is previous life experiences. I don't know about any of you, but I didn't grow up staying at 5-star resorts, flying first class, getting a Mercedes-Benz when I turned 16, right? Yet every job I had in high school, after high school, in college, after college, I was expected to give that type of experience. And, the golden rule, treat customers the way you want to be treated, is a horrible compass for customer service, right? I have a 22-year-old son. If any of you would hire him tomorrow and say, Bo, I want you to treat our customers, our clients, the way you want to be treated, that'd be a horrible mistake, right? He'd greet him and give him a fist pump, and he'd say, what's up, dude? And, that's where he's at today. But he's a great kid if you give him some great training. The second place service aptitude gets shaped is previous work experiences, right? And unless we have a direct pipeline to former Disney, Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons, whatever the world-class brand is in your market, none of us have a direct pipeline to hiring people from there. So that there's a pretty good chance that the people we're hiring have worked somewhere else where their manager, leader was paranoid, taught them to say, listen, young Rob, it's your job not to let people take advantage of us. Policy. Now we hire young Rob, and he's treating our platinum VIP client like they're trying to get away with something. So those first two places, previous life experience, previous work experience, we can't control as leaders, right? The only thing we can control is the third place service aptitude gets shaped, and that's what we do with them after we hire them, right? And so the question I love to ask people is, if you're to hire my son Bo to be in a customer-facing position, okay, you hire him today, how much training would you give him before you would cut him loose to start working with your clientele? And some people say 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. That's not the answer I'm looking for. The answer I'm looking for is, of those 40 hours, 400 hours or 4,000 hours, how much of it is technical processes, scheduling, taking the credit card, placing the order, all that, and how much of it is a soft skill? Building a rapport, showing empathy and compassion, making a brilliant comeback, all those, collecting for it. And in most businesses, it's 98% operational processes. And in the 2%, it's hey, Bo, we're customer centric, see the sign in the back, go do that. And if I tell 100 employees to be customer centric, I'm going to get 100 personal interpretations. Okay. And so great world-class experienced brands remove personal interpretations. They teach them what they mean by that.
Go ahead.
So, John, I think a lot of what you're describing here is really about creating a relationship. And what's kind of interesting as well is what you're actually saying is that you can learn this, which is, to me, a bit surprising, because I think there's a bit of soft skill in this. that you might get or not. Do you have experiences where actually teaching has failed?
So something I can provide you guys as a link, a follow up, is we have interview questions to recognize if employees have the potential service aptitude, and they're free download. And there's like 30 questions, and you shouldn't use them all. Take 5 or 6 with it. And there's a skill set that we're looking for, and there's some skill sets that all the training in the world isn't going to move the needle. If you don't genuinely like people, I can't train you 10,000 hours to like people. Doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means that maybe we need to put you in a cube, in a closet, and you crunch numbers or do research, right? Nothing wrong with it. But if we're looking at a customer facing position, I got to, another thing is, are you enthusiastic, right? Are you positive? So here's some questions, and we make our interview process ungameable. Okay. Meaning, I'm going to ask you, Bertrand, Bertrand, on the interview, tell me 2 things that weaknesses that you have. And you're probably going to think and pause and then say, I'm a workaholic and perfectionist, right? Bam, I nailed that question. So questions that people don't know what they're being judged on. We might say, Bertrand, on your time off, what's your favorite thing to do, right, with your time off? Now, I don't care what your answer is. Fishing, fly fishing, playing Dungeons and Dragons, 12 hours. That's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is when you're talking about your favorite thing to do with your time off, if you get passionate, if you're enthusiastic. If you don't, you're not going to be passionate, enthusiastic about anything, right? So there's a lot of questions like that to find out if you like others. Bertram, customers complain in your experience, you think they're legitimate or just trying to get something for free, just trying to get a pulse of, what you do. Bertram, who's your Hall of Fame top 4 Rushmore people you respect, and why? And that's really telling of the why. It might be your dad, it might be your uncle, it might be your coach. But you'd be surprised at some of the people and why. So yeah, most of it I believe can be taught. I don't know about you guys. I wasn't a great employee at one time. I came in and maybe right at the at 9 a.m. 8:59, and I was trading hours for dollars, right? But then someone got me to believe in the purpose and my part that played in it, and it flicked a switch, and I realized the value of being present. I understand the day in the life of a customer. They taught me what they were struggling with and why it was so important that I was present, and my expertise benefited them in their job.
I love that thing about ask the question. I actually don't care what you deliver as your answer, but I love how you deliver it. That's the telling thing, whether you're passionate and you care about it and that. And I think, like all really good ideas, the beauty of this is that it's blindingly obvious and so simple. Now, clearly there's a big difference between simple and easy, and that's how we all make our money. But I love the fact that there's nothing that you have said that anyone can push back on. You want really good employees. Well, they've got to be passionate. They've got to have a customer service flair. They've got to care about people. Yeah. No, you're wrong. What we want is a load of customer service reps that are miserable and they don't like people. Yeah, that's not an answer you're ever going to get, is it?
Right. And to your point, if I say, Adam, on an interview, Adam, do you like people? What are you going to say? Yes, you love people. So I got to find out if you really do. I've learned this from great companies. Other interview processes is instead of, if you're interviewing, for a position, front desk receptionist, call center rep, whatever it is, the first interview, instead of having 6 individual interviews, right, which is 6 hours, bring them all in on the first interview. All right, so we're interviewing here, and I'll ask you guys a question. Hey, tell me a time when you were in a situation and blah blah blah. Again, I don't care what the answer is. Now the interviewee thinks that what they're being judged on is who has the best answer, right? Adam, you want to crush Tim's answer. Oh, you could blow that away. You know, you found the burning building and saved the baby, right? What we're looking for is what you're doing when Tim's talking. You know, you might be checked out. You might be focusing on how you can one up his answer. You might be looking at your Apple Watch, or Rob is smiling at Tim's answer. Tim said something clever, something funny, and he's smiling. That's what we're looking for. So there's a lot of interview. You know, there's a lot of making it ungameable where people think you're being focused on one thing and you're really not.
I just absolutely love what you're saying here, because it's so, as I said, it's just so obvious, isn't it? You want to get to know the real person, not stuff they've prepped for the interview or the conversation. You want to get to know the real person behind, because when they've been in role for 6 months or 6 years, the real person will out, won't they?
Yeah, and you guys, I remember again. I'm talking to an audience that can connect with my generation. Columbo, Lieutenant Columbo. The Detective
Put
Columbo.
my collar up for this.
Yeah.
He does impressions, John, by the way.
So I interview like Columbo. I just go down rabbit holes. I say, hey Tim, before we start the interview, I see that you played soccer in high school, right? What was that like? And obviously the interview's going, but you might say, I played 2 years, but I quit my junior year because the coach was a jerk, right? And those types of things. And people let their guard down, and you just go on rabbit holes. And, that's my interview, is a bunch of rabbit holes, just to see if you're a glass half empty guy, and always been a victim, or, things like that. The other thing, a best practice that we do, our clients do, is we create a day in the life of a customer. So the biggest disconnect with employees is most customer facing employees in any business, accounting, legal, any business, most client facing, customer facing employees aren't the customer. Okay. Meaning they're not the same age group. They haven't, done what they've done. My consultants that work for me have never worked in corporate America. They don't know what it's like to work for a publicly held company, right? So there's a disconnect. They don't know what that's like. So I have to teach them. And so we create a video of a day in the life of a customer to show the pressures. In the hair salon, my average employee is a mid-20s single female. Our average guest is a 43 to 59-year-old professional female. So what's a 26-year-old single woman know what it's like to be a 52-year-old man or woman, where 24 hours is enough time in a day, 36 hours wouldn't be enough time in a day. Aging parents, work pressures. So it doesn't mean we change who we hire, but we show them, a video that, shows that their son's getting bullied. They just got promoted. They just, sold their business. They just found out that their mother has dementia. Just so you realize who you might be dealing with today, and why you need to be present on your A game, and that they're depending on the job you do for them.
Joan, I want to ask you about your clients for a moment. In
Sure.
my experience, and I've worked in a lot of customer service roles, and I actually worked for Disney for a decade. I've worked for companies and that, for the most part, see customer service as a cost center,
Expense.
as an expense. And what do we do with expenses? We cut them. We reduce them to as close to zero as possible. How do you convince your clients, first and foremost, that outstanding customer service is a revenue generating proposition? How do you help them see the ROI in this?
And that's the first place we start. Usually when they're calling us, they're raising their hand, admitting that that hasn't worked. Okay. And when you see my client list, I'm sure it's like yours. Spirit Airlines or Ryanair aren't on there. The people that stink aren't calling us. It's usually the people that are really good that already understand the ROI. But here's what we do when we work with a client. The first thing we do is we create an ROX dashboard, return on experience. Okay. Directly relates to if you're providing. So I'll give you a great example. One of our longtime clients, is a mortgage company that works with veterans of the military. Okay. Now they had an issue of the hard part, Rob, is if you're a veteran and you're calling and you want to, get a mortgage in any mortgage company, the hard part is getting you approved. If I can't get you approved, we can't, go to second base. They were of the people they approved, 15% were opting out right before the loan closed. So we call that a VOO, veteran opt-out, okay? Which in the American football terms, I want to make sure I use the right terminology, that's fumbling the ball on the 1 yard line, right? I mean, we're right there. We've done all the work. It's going to close December 1st, and you're calling me on November 22nd saying, I found, and the account executives would say they found a cheaper rate. That's why we lost them. Okay. It wasn't the price. It wasn't the rates. So we had to investigate. So another thing, a VOO, veteran opt-out, they were losing 15% a month. Every 1% of a VOO is over $400,000. Okay. A month. All the work has been done. So we had to investigate why people were opting out. Well, it's because the account executives, and these account executives are recent college graduates. They're 23, 24, 25. Again, they don't know what it's like to be a veteran. A lot of their veterans are from Vietnam, 78 and older. There's a disconnect. But here's what happened, Rob. I get you approved. Your loan's going to close, January 5th. And then I stop communicating with you because now I'm working on Tim, because Tim's in my pipeline. I want to get Tim approved. I've already spent your commission. So they start ghosting and not communicating with the ones, that are already approved. I had to ask my kids what ghosting meant, right? So they would opt out. So here's what we did. Worked with their IT, and the VOO is an outcome. That's not the problem. It's what the problem was, that we stopped communicating with you. So we created a system that if an account executive didn't communicate with the veteran, every 48 hours, the loan froze. If the loan freezes, obviously the account executive can't get into it. But not only that, his supervisor finds out about it. The chief revenue officer finds out about that. The CEO, you don't want the loan to freeze, because you're going to have 10 people come to you and say, why did Veteran Jones's loan freeze? You didn't communicate. As a result, in the first 5 months later, after we rolled this out, their monthly VOOs went from 15% to 8%. I'm still pissed about the 8%, right? But that 7% of reduction in VOOs was worth more than $2 million in revenue a month. So when I go to you, Rob, and say, we can save you $2 million a month by just communicating better, that pays for the project right there. So it's finding the thing. Sales is not an indicator, right? There's so many other things to why sales. Usually sales is a lagging indicator, but it's the best KPI I've ever seen. I just wrote an article and did a webinar on stop surveying your customers, right? And I don't mean that literally, but we all have survey fatigue, right? We're getting blown up on surveys. I don't fill out 99. The only time I will is if you're really screwed up and I want to let them know, right? And that's not it. So, but the best one, I love this, and Fred Reichel invented this. He's the, it's track your earned sales. Okay. So here it is. Last month, last quarter, whatever we want to do. Well, let's say we brought in $1 million. Okay. Of that $1 million in sales, what was bought and what was earned? Bought is advertising. How'd you hear of us? Oh, I saw, Googled you. I saw your billboard. I saw, whatever it is. Okay, that's bought. Earned is one of two things. You're a repeat customer or you were referred. So if you have the business that says, all right, Rob, how did you hear of us? Oh, Tim said I had to do business with you. He said, if I want some, you're the guy or you're the business. Okay. That's earned. Okay. And, or you've done business with again. You track earned. We track earned not only as a company, but we track it as a consultant. All right. And we could say, Rob, your earned growth, your sales is 32%, meaning 68% is coming off our advertising. Now, Adam's earned sales could be 60%. Adam's a hell of a lot more profitable. And I mean, that's earned is all profit. And is if you're calling up or I'm calling you, how'd you hear of us? SEO. I Googled you. Well, I also Googled 5 other businesses. So you better be the best deal because I'm calling them too. But if I'm earned where I've done business with you before, or again, Adam said, I have to use you. You're the company. That sales cycle is real easy. That's price is less sensitive. I'm not calling 6 other companies to compare you by.
I just love it, John. Excellent. I've got a question for you. Since you're not French, why do you call yourself a chief revolution officer?
Because our purpose is to change the world by creating a customer service revolution. My last 2 books are the Customer Service Revolution and the Employee Experience Revolution. We have a definition to the revolution: it changing the world by creating an experience revolution. It's a radical overthrow of conventional business mentality designed to transform what employees and customers experience. And the second part I like even more. This shift permeates, into people's personal lives, at home, and in the community, which in turn provides the business with higher sales, brand loyalty, and makes price irrelevant. So we're all about creating a revolution, disrupt the industry. Steve Jobs had a great quote. Don't ask the customers what they want. Give them what they can't live without. Right. And so if you think about the revolutionary companies, Airbnb, Uber, Zappos, I don't know if the Zappos is worldwide, but you buy shoes online, which is crazy, right? Starbucks 30 years ago, all those, they didn't do focus groups. What they came out with was just crazy. The consumer couldn't even comprehend that. I still can't comprehend the business model. If you came to me with the Airbnb model today, I would tell you you're nuts. It just makes no sense to me. Or Uber, you're going to, what would you want in a cab driving experience? A cab what? I want to step on any street corner at 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. and have a strange unmarked car pull up and I'll get in and drive off with them. Are you crazy? Right. But that's revolutionary that, I think the customer doesn't know what they want until you give it to them.
Oddly, when you said about Rob has a 32%
earned sales,
which means
we got to work with Rob. Rob's struggling there.
Yeah. Well, we know that. Don't worry. But the thing that's really interesting is that flipping the statistic to focus on the other. I was talking to somebody just yesterday, actually, and they said that they were running some questionnaires for sales teams. And the question that they typically would ask was, how much, as a percentage, how much would you trust your sales leader? And, people go, well, I kind of trust him, so I'm going to put it up 80%. 80% I trust him. And he said, yeah, the 80% is nice. The 20% is the bit you've got to worry about, because it means that 20% of the time I don't trust this person. And it's just, it's very compelling when you often turn those things around, isn't it? So 68%, Rob's buying the business. I mean, clearly he isn't, because that's not what we do. But
right.
But as a concept, that's incredibly powerful, isn't it?
As not only as a company, but like I said, as consultants, as lawyers, as accountants, as hairdressers, I want you losing sleep at night over your earned growth. And the way you grow your earned growth is, number one, give such a phenomenal experience, so much value that they feel that you're a bargain, even though you're the most expensive in town. And then secondly, if you're doing that, and Adam, you call me up and say, John, I just want to tell you, you've been great to work with. This project has exceeded expectations. Well, that's why I say, Adam, the greatest compliment I can get is a referral of a family or friend, right? But back to the mortgage company. So there's a 35-day sales process, right? From start to finish. Well, they built in there, all right, at this time, at this touch point, ask for a referral. All right, then at this touch point. Well, the problem is you got to read the audience. You might be calling me up as an account executive screaming at me because I haven't returned your emails or voicemails, or, I haven't let you know that the closing date moved. But today is that day. I'm so saying, okay, Adam, we'll take care of that. And do you know anybody that could benefit from my services? No. That's not when you ask. You ask when the client is very happy. But almost don't have to ask, right? If you're crushing the experience and you're a resource and being a resource for your client goes far beyond just what they, B2B sales, you should know what your client's top 3 goals are, unrelated to what you do for them. And then make the introduction of, people. You don't want my advice on anything outside of customer experience, right? You wouldn't want my advice, right? But I know someone that does know that. Let me introduce you to them. I think you'll be very happy. Now I got 2 people that owe me, so to speak. But I want to be the first person you call as my CEO when you need something. Even though I don't do that, I probably know someone that does.
John, are you familiar with NPS, the Net Promoter Score?
That's when I said Fred Reichel. He's the father of NPS.
Okay,
and he's the one that created the earned growth, concept.
I was just curious as to your take on how organizations are executing that these days.
So I like it, but that's where I go to. If you have a business model that can track, if people don't know, it's Rob, how likely are you to recommend us, right? And how that works. Well, listen, let's say you give me a 10, but I look up a year later and you never have. Well, then that really is, I don't want to measure your intent. I want to measure your action. And that's what the earned sales or earned growth or earned sales does. It measures your action of if my clients are referring and repeat. NPS is very good. I think it's really good for the business models that can't track. If you don't have a CRM system, where you can track it, but I think it's good. I think it's good. But something that I was really surprised. I listened. I've had Fred Reichel on my podcast, and something he said last week on a podcast shocked me. He said if you don't get 90% response rate, which 30% is damn good, right? But if you don't get a 90% over a 90% response rate, it's not valid. And he goes back to usually the people that are responding to those surveys are the ones that you really ticked off, or you did save their dog from the burning building, right? But the ones that are just they don't take the time to fill out the survey. They're survey fatigue. So that concerns me a little bit, that because I don't think it's possible to get a 90% response rate.
No, I mean the other thing with a survey is that you distort the environment by asking the question.
Yeah.
So me saying I really like your jumper, your sweater, is not the same thing as you saying, do you like my sweater?
Right.
Because one of them
You're initiating it versus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why what you said about the earned as opposed to the net promoter score is so powerful, because actually it's not just conversation like the interview. Actually, I don't care what your answer is. I care how you actually behave in this environment. And it's exactly that, isn't it? Because the fact that all these people intend to refer you and never do, well, so their opinion is valueless.
100%. 100%. Action is what we need to track. Not, it's like asking Adam, how likely are you to do business with again? Well, you could say 10 out of 10, but if you never call us again, I don't care about what you said on a survey. I care about that it's been 6 months or a year and you haven't called us again. So looking at it as a whole of our clientele or your clientele, that only 22% re-sign or whatever that business model is, that is what's important. So back to the VU, I tell everyone to find your VU, find that one thing that you have to have bells and sirens go off when it happens or it doesn't happen.
So where does an organization start? We want to be more customer centric. What's the first thing that we should be doing?
Training for service aptitude. Don't assume anyone has it. And the best way I wrap up service aptitude is it's not your employee's responsibility to have high service aptitude. It's the company and leaders to give it to them. So put it this way. We would never let a cook, a chef at a great restaurant, we'd never hire someone, out of school and assume they can cook our menu the way we want to. We would never let an accountant or a pilot fly a plane or do someone's books without having the certification. You have to certify your employees the same way, not the same amount of hours, but we have to train and certify that you know how to use Ford and that you do Ford. You know how to beat the greet. You know how to create empathy and compassion, and take the test. And before we cut you loose. So, we have a service aptitude test that we help companies create. Now, a lot, and then they're easy. If a customer calls and has a complaint, what would you do? A, B, C, D, or E. Now, a lot of times, the obvious answer, let's say it's C, is obvious to the new employee, right? So they're going to pick C. But here's the thing. You wouldn't have known, or they wouldn't have known to do C on their own. But now they see, oh, we're allowed to do C. Or sometimes they won't put C. And we'll say, Bertrand, why did you pick B? And Bertrand would say, because at the last job, I would have gotten fired for doing C. Bertram, here, we want you. Don't punish 98% of the customers for what we're afraid 2% are going to get away with. We're okay take advantage of 2% of the time. I don't think we do, but don't punish 98% of the customers. So it's a training opportunity as well, and a learning opportunity. So it's creating that soft skill certification like you would for a technical certification.
Where does technology play in this? A lot of automation and AI and so on has led to more quote unquote productivity. Is that actually getting in the way of personal relationships though?
So it can, and the good companies aren't, but so where AI can really be valuable, right, is you have to humanize AI. Now, let's take call centers, contact centers, support centers. If AI can take the mundane minutia tasks off my plate and answer your questions in 30 seconds, great. But you have to have, now it takes it off my plate as a rep. And now I'm free to take care of the things that it can't, and that, you may be of an age that you don't want to use technology in a self-service kiosk or whatever. But there's companies, there's a phone company in Canada that charges $10 if you choose to speak to a customer service rep, right? They're punishing the customer. But listen, if I can't find the answer of why I have a charge on my monthly invoice, I need to speak to someone because I've never seen this charge before, or I'm of an age, a generation that just doesn't know how to use, your website or app as well. So that's where it's taken too far, right? But the real benefit is removing the minutia, the stuff I don't like doing on my job of answering those questions. The good thing is when you do get me and you ask me a question, it populates the answer for me. So we don't have that pregnant pause of 15, 20 seconds, which is a long time on the phone for me to pull up your answer. It also can, tell me what your Ford is by looking in your CRM system, and I can say, how's Boston this time of year? Or did you enjoy the last purchase you had of whatever you bought? While I'm waiting for that answer to populate.
John, there's a barber's near me, which you can, as you're probably aware, I don't go in there very often. And for years they couldn't make it pay. And it was brought by some new people, and they put the prices up, and immediately and they changed the service of what they gave, and all of a sudden they had queues around the corner of people wanting to use it. It was amazing to see how actually I think they put the price up by 50%, and they do all kinds of things in there, and not just cut hair for men. They do beards, because beards are like really important today, and nasal hair. They do the waxing and stuff like that.
Yeah, they
Clearly,
made you a hot towel around your face.
Yeah. And I was talking to the person, and it was funny because she was actually saying there was another barber's down the road, and she said they've copied my fake brick on the wall. And I was going, I don't think that the customers come in and worried about the fake brick on the wall. Anyway, the people up the road went bust, and she's still there.
And so here's something I like to say. I believe in price match guarantee. Okay. And so that may sound like I contradicted everything I said, but this is what I mean. This is why I want everyone on my team to be able to articulate. We are the ultimate experience and experts at what we do, and we will not be oversold. In fact, if you can find it higher somewhere else, we will raise our prices and match it. And so think about that mentality. Okay. If you tell me, hey, John, I spoke to another customer service consulting firm and they actually charge more than you, I'd be pissed, right? I'd be like, how? What are they doing? Now, it doesn't mean, they charge this much, I'm going to raise my prices and I can't do that. I can't say, all right, they charge 100,000. I'm going to charge 101. Therefore, no, I have to find out what they're doing. What are they providing to be able to justify that? Are they smarter? Do they have a better methodology? Do they customize better? Do they do better research? And then I raise my game, and then I can raise my prices, right? And it's the same thing with the barbershop is, the salon too. If you tell me there's a salon in Cleveland, Ohio that charges more than us, there isn't. But if there is, tomorrow, I'm going to go there and find out, do they have a better chandelier? Do they offer better espresso coffee? And doesn't mean we're going to raise our prices tomorrow, but we have to raise our game, because how dare someone outsell us, right? And we choose, and our clients choose not to compete in price wars. We compete in experience wars. A lot less players, and it's a hell of a lot more profitable. So to your point.
Thank you. Price is just the indicator of the experience in that scenario.
Correct.
Makes complete sense. John, this has been great. Where can people learn more? How can they get in touch with you?
At thedejuliusgroup.com, if you could see how to spell it, the DeJulius, DIJULIUS group.com. Everything's there. We have podcasts and webinars and a bunch of blog every Wednesday, and a lot of free stuff you can download.
Fantastic. We now have a newsletter. Don't miss an episode. Get show highlights, beyond the show insights, and reminders of upcoming episodes. You can scan the QR code on screen or visit us at digitaldownload.live/newsletter. On behalf of the panelists, to our guest and to our audience, thank you all for being an active part of today's conversation. And we'll see you next time on the Digital Download.
Thanks, John.